Hello everyone, my name is Sina Saemian and I'm here to present another episode of Golbazan Podcast. Today we will be discussing our latest high-profile friendly against Japan, who are one of the best sides in Asia, and also other issues surrounding this game. Today I'm joined by one of our regular panelists, Pezhman Pars, former Iran international, Mr. Amir Hashemi, and also we have a special guest. We have Ben from J-Talk pod, who covered Japanese football in great depth. It's great to speak to you guys.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We went into this friendly on the back of a disappointing 1-0 draw against Oman in the World Cup qualifiers. What was it that you were looking forward to most in this friendly, and were your expectations matched, Pezhman?
I was hoping, but not expecting, to see new players. With new, I mean new for a national team, new in the sense of getting some playing time, although they have been in the squad. But we've seen Carlos Queiroz before being very careful when he plays friendlies against good teams. He usually fills out more or less the strongest team he has. And I think it has to do with the lack of good opponents that Iran usually have. So when we play against good opponents such as Japan, it's important, I think, for Queiroz to see how strong is his team when it really matters. So somehow I wasn't really expecting for the new young players to actually do something. In that case, I wasn't that surprised, to be honest.
What about you, Mr. Hashemi? What did you make of the game?
I'm agree with Pezhman because that's Carlos Queiroz, the Portuguese trainer. They want to play against strong teams with a solid team, and solid team asks much more experience, and that's the reason you see not many new of young players. Iran played better than the match against Oman. Played much more on other half, closer to the box of the Japan. But I think it was good enough for deserve 1-1, but not good enough to win against Japan.
Ben, coming to you, Japan are doing okay in the World Cup qualifiers. I mean, I think everyone would agree that they will go through as group winners. How did you see the game against Iran, and what did you make of it?
I thought, probably 1-1 was a fair result, but overall, I think Iran were the better team, on the evening. Similar to what the guys have said before about how Iran set their team up. I was personally hoping that the Japanese coach Vahid Halilhodžić would, utilise his squad more after Japan had played Syria in Oman in the previous match day. But I guess similar to what the guys have said about Queiroz, I guess Halilhodžić wanted to test his players against one of the strongest, according to the FIFA rankings, the strongest Asian team in Iran. So while I would have liked to have seen even more changes from the Syria game. I mean, there was never any doubt that the likes of Keisuke Honda and Shinji Kagawa were going to start. And it's slightly disappointing from the Japanese perspective. But when you come back from Iran having gotten a draw, I mean, in any circumstance, that's got to be considered a decent result for Japan.
So do you think this was a good opportunity for Halilhodžić to really get to see the depth in his squad, having only taken over about 6 months ago? Do you think it's an opportunity missed? Because there will be bigger games coming along, and these friendlies are an opportunity for all the teams to get to see the younger players in action.
Absolutely, great question. And yes, for me personally, I would have liked to have seen him make more than the 5 changes that he did from the Syria game. But I guess, well, you mentioned before you came to me that, Japan had been doing all right in the qualifiers. But, of course, Japan drew their first qualifier at home against Singapore 0-0. And that was, for some people, obviously a shock. But some people started to question Halil Hodzic even this early into his reign. The shot count, the stats were phenomenally in favour of Japan on the evening. The Singapore keeper just played out of his skin on the night.
I was about to say that game, the goalkeeper played the game of his life. I remember the highlights.
Absolutely.
It was magnificent.
No question about that. But, for the supporters of the Japan national team who only watch the Japan national team and don't watch the J-League, not perhaps, hardcore soccer fans isn't the right word, but for the more casual fan, that result was very, very surprising. And so I guess Halil Hodzic, while he probably wouldn't admit that he was feeling any pressure after a result like that, he's probably got to think that any kind of negative results in the aftermath of that will increase the pressure on him. So I guess that's probably might have had something to do with him playing closer to his best side than I would have liked to see.
Mr. Hashemi, one of the things that Queiroz, as you mentioned before as well, has been criticised for is the use of his squad. And in this current squad that he invited, there was around 4 or 5 centre-backs, and only 2 of these centre-backs played these 2 games against Oman and Japan. Do you think there needs to be an improvement in the way he invites players and the way he uses his squad?
Yeah, that's exactly what I am thinking, that we have to think something about our centre-backs, because the age is high and we need an alternative there. And why he doesn't use that, another alternatives, it can be maybe Burali Genji again, or one of the young players who are playing now by Iran under 23. And I think we need to focus there. We cannot say that Queiroz didn't use young players. You see, Ezzatullah has played, Saad Al-Azman played, even Torabi played. They are very young players. But what I think we have a problem, centre-backs, we have a problem in the goalkeeper. I think Hariri cannot improve himself anymore. I think he's on the level and he can be. And we need to put more attention. We need to put more energy for our centre backs. We need a good defender. We need also good playmaker there. I think that's what I think. Carlos Queiroz has to try other players there.
Pezhman, coming to you and keeping with the same theme of defenders, our left-back position has been, it's been a subject of a lot of debate with Ehsan Hajsafi occupying that left-back spot. Do you agree with that choice? Do you think Hajsafi has to play there, or do you think there needs to be a lot more new players coming in, given a go and see how they do? Because to me, Hajsafi has been a little shaky in the last few games at left back, considering that he's not a natural left back.
He's what you call a forced left back, and he's not the first one in either Iran or rest of the world. There are plenty of them because there's like a lack of left backs. But coming to Hajsafi, I think that we need somebody. Well, we have, of course, Pouladi that haven't been playing anything in a national team since after the World Cup due to his military issues. I hope that will solve soon because for me, he's the best left back we have in Iran. The other ones, they're not bad. We have a couple of young players. The problem is, are they good enough on an international level? We have seen plenty of players that playing really good in the league, but when they come to an international level, they can't manage to keep up that high quality. Maybe because of the lack of experience, maybe because of different kind of opponents that you play against. So I think he's actually forced to use Haj Safi. I really hope that his time in Bundesliga and Frankfurt will develop his skills as a defender, because when he's a really good attacking player and he's always up there and usually have some great crosses, but this move to Frankfurt, he has been playing a lot actually. We have to see it in the long term. So maybe in 1 or maybe at least in 2 years. So plenty of time to develop and be ready before the World Cup. That's my hope, and I hope that's the ambition he has for himself to become a better defender. But we have the problem with Peladi, and I don't know when that actually will end. So that's where we are right now.
Mr. Hashemi, do you agree with Pezhman's assessment, or do you think differently to him?
No, exactly. Haj Safi is an attacking left back, and as a trainer, you can do two things: or search for another left back. The priority is the defending. Or if you play with Haj Safi, I think the trainer has to think about the covering position. You know, Haj Safi is play very deep, is attacking, and the takeover position is one of the big points in Europe, in football actually. When the player moves, the position of the player has to be covered with someone else. In the case of Haj Safi, they have to do that, because if you look at the Oman game, how we get a goal from Oman is again there is no cover, the second post. If you look at back to the Iraq game, it's the same goal exactly. Or we really have to go for a young player. I know that there is a wonderful left back. He will come, and I'm sure, I don't have doubt about him. He will be one of the best left back in Iran history. He's playing now by under 23, Ali Yari. I have seen him here in Holland for 3 matches. It's unbelievable. It's a classic, very elegant player. But he's for future. And I also agree with Pezhman. I think if Haj Safi playing with Frankfurt for another 2-3 months, I'm sure that he will get better physically, mentally. And he will understand it tactically much more, and also timing, and not always attacking. The priority is also defending. I agree with Pezhman, of course.
You know, watching the last 2 games against Japan and Oman, one of the biggest concerns that I had watching the game was the amount of times the opposition got through to our back four. And it's very unlike Iran under Carlos Queiroz, because usually the midfield is so solid that the opposition wouldn't really get a chance to have a go at the back four. But when you start to analyse, the first thing that comes into my mind, certainly, is the retirement of Javad Nekunam, our long-standing captain. And since his retirement, Omid Ebrahimi has come in. He's been his replacement, and he's been playing alongside Andranik. Now, how do you see his performances have been for Iran so far? And do you think in the long term he is the right replacement, or do you think we need to look at different players? Pezhman?
I'd like to first go back to Haj Safi real quick. I think one of the reasons that he's not good in the defense is, well, first, he's not a defender, but he's been playing as a defender for quite some time now. But he played in good, strong teams in Iran, such as Sepahan and also in Teraktor. Teams that usually possess the ball and play attacking football. So there are good teams that aren't they don't get punished, so to speak, as often as maybe the national team does. So he's not really been proven as a defender. when playing in Sepahan, one of the best teams in Iran and maybe even in Asia, they usually aim to win every game. And you can't win every game by being that kind of defender that we expect from Hashemi. But coming back to your question, if Ebrahimi have been good enough, we can't really compare them because they're two different kind of players. Nekunam is a player that distributes the ball much more. He sees the complete field and calms down the ball and the play a lot. Maybe too much, in my opinion, but Iran isn't a team that plays like Taka football. I don't see Ebrahimi as his heir for the long term. I don't even see him playing in the World Cup. I think when Queiroz finds that guy, whoever that might be, Ebrahimi will be on the bench. Now, for me, that means that there's plenty of good players in Iran that have the opportunity to take that role now. But it's really hard to say who. Nouri have been that option, Mohamed Nouri, when he played for Persepolis, but I don't know if he's good enough as well. Bassem Haddadi-Far, I think he's getting too old. So, and Ezzatullahi is too young and unexperienced. But for the national team in the World Cup, if he gets some playing time in Europe, maybe he can play that part. Right now, I don't see any other option. That's a big problem for Iran.
Mr. Hashemi, what do you think Ebrahimi needs to continue? Or is it just there's a change of tactic needs to be done since the retirement of Nekunam? How do you see it?
Because I think Ebrahim is not a bad player. He doesn't. He's doing well. We have to think. We play always with two control midfielders. Before that, we played with Javad Nekunam and Andra Niktemoyan together. And now Ezzatullahi, Said and Ebrahimi together. And they play beside each other. And the role of Ebrahimi is a little bit, he has a little bit more freedom than Javad Nekunam has in his time. Ebrahimi can change his position, can give the pass. But the only problem is what I think, and maybe Carlos Queiroz doesn't allow Ebrahimi go further with national team, is his physique. Because he likes solid player, Carlos Queiroz. He likes strong players, defending good players. We miss little bit this defending factor or element by Ebrahimi. But I think he's a good player. He can move the ball good. He can make good choices. I think he has a little bit more tempo in his game, even more than Javad Nekunam. If they allow him to look forward, he can see the players in front of him faster and better than Javad, even better than him. But I'm afraid, I agree with Pezhman again, that he doesn't get that chance because the thoughts of the trainer is different. He needs a very strong player, good physique. They have to win many duels, I think it will be a problem for him. But till now, he is doing okay.
Ben, coming to you, based on the FIFA rankings, Iran are ranked number 1 in Asia and are considered the best team on the continent. How did you see Iran in this friendly and in the past 12 months, taking the World Cup into account as well as the Asian Cup? How do you see Iran in comparison to the previous Irans that Japan played against?
Well, it was certainly different, from obviously I'm not Japanese, but from a Japanese perspective, not seeing Nekunam and Teimourian in the starting 11, that was a big change from the teams that Japan have played in the past. But, I mean, a lot of people mock the FIFA rankings the way they're put together. But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that that Iran overall are the strongest team in Asia. Although they're going through a period of transition as Japan are, and I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, it's always a difficult clash for Japan. They know they're always going to be in for a tough game wherever they play Iran, and as I said earlier, coming back from a goal down to draw, however lucky the goal was, and we might come on to that later. I mean, Japan will take a draw away at Iran every day of the week, but I mean, I think we've got to. The guy said earlier about the level of teams that Iran is playing, and Japan is the same. I mean, we've got to get these strong Asian nations playing against stronger opposition. I think when these friendly windows are open to them, and I mean, it's great for Japan to travel to Iran to play a friendly, just as it was last year when they travelled to Europe and took on the Netherlands and Belgium before. Actually, sorry, that might have been 2 years ago. But I mean, that trips like those are invaluable. I mean, a lot of the friendlies that Japan play at home are just sponsorship driven, and the supporters turn up and think it's going to be a rock and roll show to see the likes of Honda and Kagawa turn it on, and usually against much inferior opposition. So to have a chance to play against the strongest team in Asia away from home was an invaluable experience, I'm sure, for Halilhodžić and the squad that he took over.
Just going back 10 months and before the Asian Cup began, I mean, certainly with people I spoke to, Japan were one of the favourites alongside Australia as hosts. But
absolutely, we're trying to forget the Asian Cup over here. Yeah, we're trying to pretend that it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's what my question is about. Do you think the controversy surrounding your previous manager before the Asian Cup really damaged your chances in the tournament? And has the country, has the footballing community in Japan recovered from that disappointment?
Good question. I personally would say that I don't think it had that great an effect on the players, because I don't know if they were ever really that connected with Javier Aguirre to begin with. On the evening down in Australia, I mean, they lost on penalties to the UAE, a game that they probably should have won. Most people would say they definitely should have won, but they didn't over, in normal and extra time, and you go into penalties and you never know what's going to happen. And Japan lost. I mean, without question, they should have been in the semi-finals at the very least, and as you say, with Australia as the host, they would have been the joint favourites, if not the outright favourites, before it began. But as I say, I don't think they were necessarily playing for Aguirre from the start. I mean, there were whispers that a few senior players weren't on board with the way he was going about things from the beginning. So the controversy that swirled over Aguirre, I wouldn't say had a negative impact on the squad. They just happened to, it just didn't work out for them on the night, both in normal and extra time, and then on penalties.
What about the current manager, Vahid Halilhodžić? I mean, certainly he was one of the names who was mentioned when after the World Cup, when Queiroz was rumoured to have resigned from his role. He was one of the names that was mentioned as a possible replacement. How has Japan done so far under him? I know it's still early days, but are the signs good ahead of the second stage of the World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah, it's been interesting having Halilhodžić in charge. He's done things a little bit differently than previous managers. One of the quirks he has is when he announces his squads for international break. Yeah, he doesn't just. Oh, is everyone okay?
I'm okay.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
Pezhman, you're here. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, he doesn't just read out 23 names. He's been known to take over an hour to go through each member of the squad one by one and detail reasons why certain player has been selected, and also as he's working his way through the squad, why other players have not been included. That's certainly a different take on things than we're used to in Japan, and I would imagine that most international managers go about things. In terms of setting the team up on the pitch, I mean, it's very similar to, even going back to Zaccheroni 2 managers ago. I mean, the formation is pretty much the same. Most of the names are very familiar, I'm sure, even to casual fans of Iranian football. I mean, they know the names of, Honda and Kagawa and Yoshida's playing in the Premier League with Southampton. But yeah, I mean, the one big hiccup was his first qualifier in charge against Singapore, and as we both said, I mean, the keeper had a worldie, and Japan were held 0-0. But since then, they've bounced back in reasonable style, and the 3-0 win over Syria in Oman was ultimately pleasing. When they went in at a half-time 0-0, we wondered if there might be a repeat of the Singapore result, but they took care of business in the second half, and I mean, it's going to shape up to be a very interesting second stage of qualifying, isn't it?
Definitely. Mr. Hashemi, coming to you, one of the things that Ben mentioned was the importance of playing high-profile friendlies against top opposition. How important do you think that is for Iran, considering we've had difficulties in the past 2 or 3 years arranging friendlies against good opposition? But in the last 10 months, we played against the likes of Chile, Sweden, and now Japan. Do you think these are the right friendlies? And how do you think Queiroz and the Iranian Football Federation should approach these friendlies? Do you think it's just a matter of sending out our best team to see how we fare against these sides, or testing the young players and really seeing how they are and if they're ready to play important games?
Yes, that's they can always make a mix. It's very important for teams as like Iran or Japan. They are the best teams in Asia and even in the world. If I look at some European teams, and to play these good games, we have a very good player. Japan plays with Honda, Yoshida, Kagawa. They are a very big player. They play always high level, and Iran also. And you can see the difference. You have an identity as Iran. Iran has to play against this kind of teams. You can improve yourself. Just example, if you play the friendly match against Bahrain or Oman with lots of respect for these countries, but if you even win against these teams, you didn't do anything good, You have to win. You are the first of Asia. But if you play against bigger teams, higher level, the one thing is there's the technical things. You can improve yourself in technical side of football, improve yourself and tactically. But the other thing is identity of Iranian football. It's much better. You win against Chile, and Chile wins against Brazil. Everybody talk about this, and you have to think the player. The playing, for example, Sardar Azm or Turabi, or Ibrahimi, he plays against Honda, not against a player nobody doesn't know him. But if you approach the games, is another matter, another question. I think he can, that depending how many games they play. For example, they played one game against Chile and 2, 3, 4 days later against Sweden. You have two times 90 minutes, which means you can divide. You put the best team in the first game, the second game. You can make a mix, or you can use the youth players. You don't have to put 4 youth players in one game to see them is even not good for them if they cannot do anything, That's depending how do you want to improve them. I think the best thing is to make a mixed team and let them come very slowly to their level. Let them adapt to the good level, good niveau. And I'm saying always, we don't have to play against teams they are much lower than Iran because you don't have anything to win. You can better play against your young 23 team than against these teams. That's what I think.
Now, Pezhman, coming to you, of course, some of the big names of Japan national side has already been mentioned, the likes of Kagawa and Honda. And I think that is one of the weaknesses in our team as well, not having a recognised number 10, someone who can play behind the striker. How important do you think it is going into the biggest stage and the more important stages of the World Cup qualifiers? How important it is to find a solution for that spot ahead of the big games? Because once the next stage arrives, we'll be playing against the likes of Japan and Australia and South Korea even.
I don't know if that's really that important because today's teams have to be versatile and have to have different kind of players, not only have that magical number 10 that we're so used to. I don't know if we will ever find that. We have some interesting players now. Tom may have done that quite well, but our kind of play so far, it's been a lot of attacking from the sides or Dejaga creating those opportunities for himself and from others and for others. If that's important, well, it's always good to have players that can create something for others and especially for the goal scorers. Having that number 10, if you don't have a squad that's good enough, then I don't think we should search for that kind of player. What I've been most surprised by in a positive way for Iran, it's the more speedy kind of play that we've seen Iran play. Iran is usually a good defending team, but having the ball, we have a lot of issues and we still have a lot of problems. But nowadays, I see Iran coming to the defender, coming to the goalkeeper and trying out some shoots and some good headers much more often than before. Maybe we don't get that good shots, and maybe that get good headers, but we will eventually, because the more you try, sooner or less one of those opportunities will come into a goal. So I think we should continue this path where I see Iran playing kind of fast, letting the ball go around much more better than we used to do. And I don't know if it's because of we don't have players such as Nekunam anymore, or is it because Carlos Queiroz is changing, or it's just one or two games that I've been watching and making, hoping too much of it. I really don't know. We have to see the other games in our qualification group, and it will be interesting to see how Iran will perform in the next stage of the World Cup. Will we be able to have that kind of play that we had against Japan when we played quite decent actually, or will we struggle like we did against Oman, who really got my respect after that game? It's too early to say.
So, Hashemi, I have a question specifically for you. It's about Alireza Jahanbakhsh. He's one of the biggest talents, not just for Iran, but I think for Asia altogether. He's been a bit of a substitute under Queiroz, but I think with his recent move to AZ Alkmaar and the regular football that he'll be getting at such a high level, it'd be very hard to leave him on the bench. So how do you think he'll fit into this Iran team? Will he carry on because sometimes he's played left wing for Iran, but where do you think he'll fit into that front three?
I think that's my idea. Good Alireza, which he will be. I think he will be back in 1 or 2 weeks, and I think the best thing is for Iran that he can play. He can fit on the right side, and they can put Ashkan on the left side again. And we were talking just now about the number 10 position. I think the Wahid Amir can fulfill this position very well. Amir is fast, has a good handling with the ball, can keep the ball. He sees his left-footed is very important. And Ali Reza can. I think the best position for him is to play from the right side. But I say it always. If you play right side, classic right side player, you have to change sometimes with your left winger. That which means if you play with Ali Reza one side and Ashkan other side, they can change with each other, and it will be good for the team. It will be bad for the opponent because you have two good players. They can keep the ball. They have a wonderful technique. They can cross the ball very good from both sides. And it is difficult for the defenders to defend this kind of player. And Ali Reza is a player, he's creative. Even Ali Reza can play on the 10 position. Just if he play in 10 position, you will miss a little bit his crosses, from the right or left side. But I think Carlos has to think and put more attention to Ali Reza and let him play from the right side.
I think we're all excited for Ali Reza to come back and really get a regular spot in the team because we all know how much of a prospect he is for the future. Now, guys, I've got a couple of questions from Twitter. One from Samson Tamijani, who says, why does Team Melli always play well against the top nations but seem to struggle against the lower teams? And I'm going to come to Mr. Hashemi with this one.
National team, it means?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's depending on the to arrange the good opponents. We need the long-term arrangements. We need to look at the FIFA days on the agenda of the FIFA, and we want to make a friendly match for the next 2 weeks, but it's impossible. You cannot find any good teams. If you arrange now for the next 6 months, I'm sure you can find a very good, strong team. That's depending how federation arrange the friendly matches.
Pezhman, I've got a question from J Soccer Magazine, who's asking, what happened to the legendary 100,000 people turning up at Azadi Stadium? Is it a question of financial situation, politics, bad football, or something else?
Good question, because usually we brag about that, but it never happens anymore, or very rare. It's a couple of different answers. First of all, the time of the game in Iran was like middle of the week, more or less, and middle of the day. Even if Iran is a country with almost 80 million people, you can't have those kind of times for a kickoff. It wasn't good. Secondly, the Iranian national team, although people like it, but the fans, I won't say if they're tired, but they're not expecting that much anymore. We have a hard time filling the stadium. And yes, one of those is, of course, the economic question. Even if the tickets aren't that expensive, it's still kind of hard for everyone to afford them, especially since all of the games are shown on TV. It's easier. We really don't know what to expect anymore. I don't know if there's any political agenda behind it. We've seen Azadi Stadium getting full. We saw it in the Asian Champions League for Persepolis. That was the main reason to help them to advance, because the tickets were free. So there is an interest, but there are a couple of different reasons. And I think the economic one is one of them. I think the lack of proper organization with kickoff. I know that the kickoff time had to be adjusted so that people in Japan could also see it, but more or less every game that Iran plays, the kickoff times aren't the best ones for getting maximum amount of people. I think there could be a lot more work with public relations. That's my opinion.
So, Hashemi, you played in an era where a lot of people used to come to stadiums and watch the games while you were playing for Esteghlal and Team Melli, of course. How do you see this problem? How do you think we can tackle it? How do you think we can get more people to come to stadiums again?
Yeah, we had a different time. You cannot compare that. Even or a friendly match. I played once with Esteghlal against Vasas Budapest friendly match. We had 40,000 people, and the club championship was 110,000 people. But I think the organizing, I think, is very important. The organizing, it's one thing, and if the people still love Iranian football is other thing. What Pezhman says to playing at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, middle of the week. You saw the game, the starting game, we had almost 12,000 people. 20 minutes later, we had 15,000, and finally I thought we had something like 22,000 people. If they put it 3 hours later or 4 hours later, they will have another 15,000 people. But the people, Iran has to change something. Beside organizing, Iran has to change something in the football. Maybe they have to let the women's come to the games, to make something else interesting for also the men's, And we have to believe that we have to do that, or we have to start also technically from our clubs. You see the matches, you see the games. If the clubs they come to don't lose the game, they don't come to win the games, and this is not attractive for the people. They pay the ticket, they sit in the car, they drive maybe 50-60 kilometers, some of them maybe less, but they come to see bunch of players. They don't want to lose. Nobody likes to see that, And if they come 2 times, 3 times to the match and they see everybody gives everything to win one game, I'm sure the people likes to come to the game. I'm sure about that. But we have to start from our clubs. We have to start from our trainers. Our trainers have to say to his teams, go to win the game. And that's the major problem. We don't have attractive football in Iran. That's the major problem.
I think we can record a 2-hour podcast just concentrating on that issue. But that wraps up this episode. I'd like to thank Pezhman Pars and Mr. Amir Hashemi for coming on and giving their views. And also a special thank you to Ben Maxwell from J-Talk pod, who came on and really educated us on various issues with Japanese football. But we'll be back with more episodes and other issues about Iranian football. But until then, take care.
Thank you.